Joining me now to talk about some of the top issues of the moment for cattlemen and women all across our country is Forrest Roberts. He's the CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Forrest, thanks for coming back to the show today.
You bet. Kevin, thanks for having me tonight.
You've been talking to a lot of folks, and I'll tell you one thing. As I talk at livestock events, coffee shops, the topic of the discussion is high cattle and beef prices. What has that done to the mood of the cattlemen across this country?
You know, Kevin, it's one of optimism, and optimism like I've never seen before. And growing up around this industry my entire life, it's a level of optimism that's really contagious. And so, I mean, we have to recognize that where we are with record beef prices across all classes of cattle, that's territory we've never been in this industry ever in our history. But I think we also got to recognize there are some areas that are still struggling with drought, like in the far western areas of the U.S. and California. But outside of that pocket, obviously moisture conditions have improved greatly. And so we see this balance of beef producers, no matter what segment they're in, they're balancing this area of planning and managing. And you look at feedlot operators today, they're managing lower occupancy rates and the challenges that come with that, with some profitability now. Right. But then seed stock and commercial cow-calf operators, those families today, Kevin, I see families that have really been able to, in the last year, reap the rewards and enjoy the rewards that some of them have worked an entire lifetime to achieve. And that's really neat to see that mood and that contagious optimism across the industry today.
So what does it mean for Ncba? Clearly there's some optimism. What is the state of the organization itself?
Well, Ncba is an organization, we're in that transition phase as we just wrapped up our fiscal year 2014 and just began our fiscal year 2015, October 1. And when you look at it, whether we're talking about the financial aspect or the outcomes that we've achieved or our team, our people, I am very proud to represent the brand Ncba. And whether it's the financial results that Ncba today has achieved, we're in a totally different area than we've ever been with a strong financial foundation. And coming off of several years now of continuous double-digit growth in our membership. And so when we take that and we start to look at, well, what are we doing with this momentum? I think there's outcomes that start with demand. The wholesale beef demand index, Kevin, that's at 131 today, whereas going back to 2009, we were at about 97. So that overall demand for beef globally is really on fire. And so when we look at the challenges that we're focused on, we're balancing that preference for beef with consumers around the world, whether it be about price, safety, nutrition, and image, how the beef eating experience was produced. But really, when you look at what happens here today inside the Beltway, our team is focused on making sure that there's a business climate that producers all around the country can have so that they can pass that operation on to the next generation. And perhaps the best echo of that is what I heard just here over the past few days. Back in June, I was in Beijing, China. And a peer of mine with a different organization in a different country was talking about what he saw with the growth of Ncba and that momentum that we have. Well, I saw him last week in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and he is from Brazil. And he said, you know, Forrest, I see an organization that has a level of momentum that I think is probably the fastest growing organization representing cattle producers on a national level is anywhere in the globe. How is Ncba doing that, and how can we learn from your success? That's probably the best testament I've heard about that, and it doesn't happen without a team of people that are our staff, our volunteer leaders working together to really be able to bring the grassroots interest of beef producers forward. And that's what's really special about being in this organization.
That is neat. And speaking of grassroots interest, let's talk about a different situation. Secretary Vilsack published a press release just last week suggesting that he wanted some comments and some input into the proposal that he is moving forward with regarding a supplementary checkoff under the 96 Act. Give us your reactions to that press release and that issue at large.
Well, Kevin, we've been working through the beef industry working group, the Beef Checkoff Enhancement Working Group, for over 3 years, trying to work together to find that common ground, to bring a solution that the majority of cattle producers in this country want. And what we see with what the Secretary is proposing is, while his intentions may be pure of trying to find more resources for an already successful program, the way that he's going about it, we feel, is wrong. Simply put, it's a duplicative program that essentially gives more power in terms of decision-making authority into the hands of the federal government as opposed to the way the current program works, and that is really in the hands of cattle producers that pay this $1
Grassroots,
per head
right?
assessment. And so we are pushing back because we feel that the work of the Beef Checkoff Enhancement Working Group is the solution that the majority of beef producers in this country want and need. How do we build on this success that we have? Because as you know, Kevin, this program today is supported. The Beef Checkoff program today is supported by almost 80% of the producers in this country with a favorable rating. And we just measured it, where we looked at an $11.20 return. So 11-to-1 return on investment is just significant. There would not be any business on the face of this earth that wouldn't enjoy an 11-to-1 return on investment today. So we're trying to build off of a successful program and enhance the assessment and the resources in it.
So real quickly, what are the next steps?
Well, the next steps are there is a notice of inquiry that came from the Secretary's office on Friday. We're working with our state partners to make sure that we're providing those comments that we don't want that. What we want is this, and that is a solution that enhances the current program under the 1985 Act. So we'll be coordinating that with all of our state partners. And what we need is everyone out there tonight, if you're watching this program and want to be engaged in this discussion, we first encourage you to do that. And we encourage you to come to San Antonio, Texas, the first week of February and participate in that discussion and really bring forward the solution that grassroots producers want. That's what we need right now.
Thank you, Forrest, for your leadership and for coming tonight.
Thank you, Kevin.